Hello YouTube, this is Frugal, and I'm in the truck, which is a first for this channel. I'm actually on my way to Lutz, north of Tampa, to see Jetline Systems again. You remember that I went to see them a little while ago and did a vlog on the Virtual Fly Airliner RS panel. Now, prior to heading out there to talk to them about the Virtual Fly stuff, I really didn't know very much about Jetline. In fact, I think I probably knew as much about them as you do, which is that they're a boutique PC manufacturer. Boutique usually means high price. You could probably build the machines cheaper yourself and all the usual stuff, but they have a flight simulation slant. Now, I didn't know whether that was a marketing thing or something more serious. So while I was there, I sat down with Ken and interviewed him about exactly what Jetline do. Here's the interview now.
So the main thing that we do is with the flight sim community, when you're trying to get a collaboration of 14 or 15 different people's software to all work together, I mean, as you see throughout the forum, there's always a lot of problems. Basically, what we do is we support not just the PC, but also the simulation software. So if you get your PC, you're flying around, you're having trouble with Active Sky importing the weather. Our customers, they simply just give us a call. We remotely take control of their PC, we do a screen share, and we fix their problems for them.
So you'll actually fix the sim?
We'll actually fix the sim.
All these comments I get on YouTube, my frame rate is awful, my graphics look awful. You actually...
Oh, that's the most common problem.
You'll actually help people with that. If they buy one of your Jetline PCs, you'll actually be available to fix that for them.
Absolutely. We'll spend as much time with you as necessary until you're happy with your sim. And as you've seen with the performance in there, people will call us, they'll install the PMDG, the Active Sky, the traffic program, and all of a sudden their PC went from locked at 60 frames to 15.
Right.
And they call us and we work it back up there, teach them what to do, where to put your sliders, and yeah, that's basically what we do, is we smooth out the sim. But yeah, we basically support beyond just the PC, and obviously the computer itself we support.
How long does that support last?
Forever. Life of the PC.
Life of the PC.
If we've got customers with 9-year-old PCs, they'll call in and they'll have problems like, you really need a new PC, but we'll still remote in and take control of them. So that is for the life of the PC.
And you put in some pretty high-end components. We were looking at some of the builds here. These are 8 series Core i7s, GeForce 1080s and 1080 Ti's, although you can't get any more right now because the Bitcoin miners have stolen them all, so there's an Intel graphics card in there right now. But normally, they're very, very high-end components. They're good build PCs.
Well, correct. And the other thing that we do is we don't, the build list that we have, if you notice, we don't have a lot of options on the website.
Right.
You have basically what we give you. And the reason being is we buy everything.
Right.
Whenever new hardware comes out, when the Extreme series came out, for instance, which is the the 18 core processors that are out there, we built 5 sims with every single processor, and we tested them and compared them in single screen configurations, 3 screen, 5 screen, 4K, multiple 4K. Took all this data down of where the performance was, how it worked, what the differences were between each one. And we found exactly what configuration works for what you're trying to accomplish in flight sim.
Right, so it's not just a question of I want the most expensive CPU there is. You find what works best. And
we find what works best. So most of our work, we actually like it that way. It's not just the web work, but the custom works where they tell us I want 3 4Ks to run from one computer.
Right.
And it's not really an easy thing to do with flight sim.
Okay.
1 4K is difficult enough. But we will build the PC hardware around it, but we've tested every possible configuration 14 different ways, so we can tell you exactly what's going to work, how it's going to work, and then help you integrate that PC into your sim. And that's really the key, is so many people are using flight sim. A lot of our customers, they'll be flight simmers for 15 years and they've never experienced it like they have, because they just haven't set it up properly, or they bought the most expensive computer instead of the right computer, and they haven't been using flight sim to its fullest potential.
So this is why we're seeing more of your PCs now when you go to shows like Flight Sim Con and stuff. You see companies like A2A and other people running your PCs because you do it best.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, so I've made it. Nice 3-hour drive from where I am up to Lutz, here north of Tampa, back at Jetline Systems. And the reason for this, many of you have already guessed, is Jetline have built me a PC. So when I was up here last time, as you just saw in the interview that I did with Ken, Jetline do a heck of a lot more than just build PCs. They're not just your typical boutique PC manufacturer that takes a lot of bespoke parts that you could buy relatively cheap on Newegg, slap them together, add $2,000 and say there's your new PC. These guys are experts at building simming PCs. They're fans of Frooglesim, they're fans of the videos, and I think like many of you are fans of the fully loadeds, because with the fully loaded type stuff, what I do, is we typically push a PC to its very limits by putting in as much stuff as I possibly can and then see how it runs and record it. Obviously it doesn't run that well. Jetline PCs, however, do. So, I'm going to point the camera over here at Greg and make him feel uncomfortable. What we discussed is a sponsorship. But it's not a typical sponsorship. I'm not going to be shoving Jetline down your throat all the time saying, whatever happens, whatever you do, even if you're looking for a joystick, go buy a computer from Jetline. It's not going to work like that. What we're just going to do is I'm going to make a lot more videos, which is what you want on the channel. I'm going to make a lot more fully loaded, a lot more reviews, a lot more first impressions, and every time I do so, they're all going to be running on this beastie here. I don't need to push it down your throat because you're going to see exactly how well this performs and exactly what it can do. The other cool thing about working with Jetline is I get a lot of questions I can't answer, like, Froogle, how does the GeForce 1080 Ti, there's one, perform? I currently have a 1080, that's a significant upgrade. In a couple of months, you're going to be asking me, what about the GeForce 20 series cards? How do they work in Prepared? How do they work in X-Plane? Greg and Jetline have agreed that when new things like that come out, they're going to send them across, and I can tell you, I can do a video and show you. So, from this point forward, my huge thanks to Greg here, and to Ken, who's over here watching. Everything on Frooglesim is powered by Jetline Systems. Now, I'm deeply impressed, and was last time when I saw what they do and how they do it. And Greg here was just talking me through the processor. This is not a normal, out-of-the-box, bought from Newegg, Intel 8700K, is it?
No, it's not. On our really high-end stuff, we're actually sourcing these processors from Silicon Lottery out of Texas. And they do all the binning, delidding, all that good stuff. Before we ever get the processor, we know it's 100% tested. We know that what it's going to run at and what voltage it's going to run at. So when we do the overclocking, like on our GTX series PCs, we know exactly what to expect, and they're very easy overclockers because we know they've already been run through every stress test imaginable.
There you go, from Silicon Lottery and then from Newegg. So they've...
Before and after.
Yeah, this one's already comes tested. We don't know what this one's going to do. We know this one's going to be 5 gigahertz at 60 degrees Celsius.
Now, I know what delidding is in principle. It's not something I would ever be brave enough to do. What's delidding?
All right, delidding is simply they take the processor, they pull it apart, they take out the thermal paste that's inside, and they put a metal thermal paste inside of there. And then they close it up, and then they bake it.
Bake it?
They literally bake the processor.
Literally bake it?
Yes.
That's insane. Why would anybody even consider doing this? What's the whole purpose of delidding?
Well, delidding will give us temperature drops like right here. We're seeing about a 25-degree temperature drop if it wasn't delidded.
So we're running on 5 gigahertz, and is it currently running Prime 95? I have computers at home that will simply melt if you run Prime 95, and we are currently running temperatures of 67, 66, 68, 69, very, very low temperatures. All right, now you were showing me a piece of paper. You said that when these things come from Silicon Lottery, they come with a piece of paper which gives you information on what they've tested. Explain this piece of paper to me, like read what you were reading me and explain.
Okay.
Because, and before we go into this, the reason I want Greg to do this, I've already heard it, but I wanted to do it on camera because he was telling me they got some information here from Silicon Lottery about my processor saying it can go to 5.1 gigahertz. The reason he didn't is because of prepared and potentially explained. This is the whole point with Jetline stuff. And again, it comes back to that, not just a boutique builder slapping parts together. They know Sims and they know how to configure PCs for Sims. So go through what you found here.
Yeah, so basically when we get these processors, like this particular one here, this is actually rated from Silicon Lottery to run at 5.1 gigahertz, but it's given us 1.412 volts, so they've already established what the voltage it will run at. But it also says that the key factor is this, which says a -2 AVX offset. So it makes that 5.1 gigahertz processor run at 4.9 gigahertz whenever it's running an Avx instruction set.
Right.
An example would be Lockheed Martin Prepared, which runs an Avx instruction set. So when we're actually flying, we're getting 4.9 gigahertz. So that doesn't work for us. That's why we actually go with the 5.1. So this is running at 5 gigahertz right now, but it's running at a 0 AVX offset. So it's running 5 gigahertz whether we're running Prime 95 or we're running P3D or whatever we're doing.
Right.
It's always going to run at 5. It's not going to run at 4.9.
So a lot of people, when they overclock themselves or they buy an overclock machine from some other vendor, they just look at that final number. It's 5.2 or it's 5.1 or whatever else and go, this is fantastic, not realizing that perhaps there could be a problem.
I'm not 100% on that. I can't speak to what other people are doing.
No, I mean in terms of me as a customer, if I go and buy this off-the-shelf machine from some other vendor that says a certain
it's possible.
overclock, it's possible.
It's certainly possible,
ideal.
unless, yes, it depends on how they're overclocking. Because with this particular family of processors, using an Avx offset is very popular.
Cool.
So it does relieve stress on the processor, but at the same time, you're really not getting the full benefit of that. Of the process.
Overclock on the processor. Yeah. All right, so talk me through this machine. What have you put in here? Why is this so cool?
Okay, so this machine, obviously we talked about the processor.
Yeah.
It's got, we're using Corsair Vengeance LED memory in here. So it's running 32 gigs of RAM, 3000 megahertz. That's overclocked. Like you said, GTX 1080 Ti graphics, and we're really looking forward to the new 20 series when it comes out here in just probably 8 weeks or so. This one has the Corsair H100i version 2 CPU cooler. Okay. So if you see these pipes are actually running down here into that little Corsair, that puck in the middle of the computer. Under that little puck, that is also the pump, and under there is your processor. And so there is a service line, a return line that goes into a radiator that you see here. On the front side of this are 220 millimeter fans, and it is actually just working just like your car. It's the exact same technology as your automobile, just shrunk way down.
There's an HDMI socket on the front of the case, and the reason that's so cool is
VR.
VR. Anybody that's got a VR headset knows that they typically have a ton of quite big cables coming out the back of the computer, running across the floor, under your feet, and it's a royal pain. Right. This case actually puts the HDMI adapter on the front, so your VR headset plugs into the front of the case. You get more cable, so if you're doing room scale VR, you can move around more. Right. You know, and it's just better. It's just all around better.
Yeah. Actually, on the back of the machine, we'll have to show this in a little bit, but so the HDMI cable, because we have to actually connect it, it's an external cable, and it actually goes outside of the case and then plugs into your graphics card's HDMI port to tap off that to the front panel. So these are actually not connected when you receive your PC. Right. It's an option. All you have to do is take off the back panel. There's one zip tie. You unplug that, and then there's a little hole that you can push the HDMI cable out of. So this is basically an HDMI cable that runs down the back of the machine. Cool. Plug it into your video card, and now you have that access to the top as well. Okay.
On your website, you have a number of models of PC. You don't do a lot of models of PC, do you? You only do like 3 of them. Which one is this?
So this is kind of a hybrid between our GT2 and our GTX. Okay. There's a lot of things in this that are really more of the GTX model. Our GTX models all include this Silicon Lottery processor. Mm-hmm. So we know we can overclock these exactly what we want. I mean, really that's the biggest factor. So this one is using the same motherboard as our GTX, which is the Z370 Gigabyte Aorus Gaming 7. and it's also used in Silicon Valley. So those are the two main components that make up the GTX, but these all look very, very similar, the GT2, GTX. It's just going to really boil down to the SSD drive. And so in this one, we're actually not using the Pro Series drive. We're using the Samsung 960 EVO M.2. So this is a brand new drive, just came out a few weeks ago.
Right.
And the performance figures of this are really, really close to what you would see in the Pro.
Okay.
So this is kind of our first go at it, and we're really impressed with what we see so far.
Very cool.
So there you have it. Everything on this channel from this point forward is powered by Jetline Systems, and I think it's a really good deal. Many of you have been asking me here on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, when are we going to see more old school Frooglesim content, more fully loadeds and reviews and tutorials and stuff like that. Fully loadeds in particular require a huge investment in time and money to get the sim running exactly how it should run with all those add-ons loaded into it. And it's fantastic to have a company like Jetline drop in and say, you know what, we want to see that content as well, and we're willing to help, which is really what this deal is all about. Of course, if they do pick up some of you as customers, and that's great, obviously a PC from any PC manufacturer is not something for everybody. Many of you enjoy building your own PCs, but if you're not one of those people and want to have expert simmers build an expert simming PC for you, then I do urge you to check out jetlinesystems.com, linked in the show notes below. I'm going to leave you with some footage that I've recorded this week. This is just test footage that I've recorded in Prepared and in X-Plane, showing where I managed to get it. I am going to do a follow-up video as well, showing what I exactly did in terms of the prepared settings in particular to get the frame rates I'm getting, which are around about 45 to 50 now, locked with everything loaded in. That's using PMDG aircraft, which is pretty much, that's unheard of. You know, normally I get on a fully loaded video 20-25 on the ground, not 40, 45, and 50. So I'm very happy. I'm very happy. Enjoy the footage, and until next time, my name is Frugal. Thank you so much for watching, and a huge, massive thanks to Jetline Systems, in particular Greg and Ken and Paul, who works there and didn't want to be on camera, but put in some amazing work in building this brand new PC. I'll see you all very soon.